Is your voice, your vote with Steve Dunn.
Welcome back to the program on this Sunday morning. Now we hear from Oregon's lone Republican in Congress and what he hopes to accomplish in the 119th Congress. Katu's Angelica Thornton interviewed Representative Cliff Bentz of Ontario on December 11th.
Joining me now from Washington, D.C., Congressman Cliff Bentz, who represents Oregon's 2nd District. Representative Bentz, congratulations on your re-election.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks for the opportunity to join you today.
Your district is huge. You represent all or part of 20 counties in Oregon. You have the 7th largest congressional district in the nation. When you have the opportunity to meet with your constituents across the state, what are some of the common concerns you're hearing from them?
Well, I think the initial remark that people make has to do with inflation and the remaining impacts, even though it's dropped, thank goodness, from down from 8.5% down to the high 2% area. There's still high prices across the board, and this is a particular challenge, a particular challenge to people in the farming and ranching space, which covers a lot of the area I'm involved with. The other areas that they talk about, of course, water is always an issue, and the concerns there that the higher energy prices, particularly electrical energy, as PGE and Pacific Core and others raise their electrical rates, those things are coming up. But the common underlying thread almost always is inflation. And so it's going to take a while for people to catch up with all the higher prices they're paying. And when you go to the grocery store, as I certainly do, I know what people are facing. It's really a challenge.
Yeah, something we were hearing really across the country after the election. What are your priorities in the upcoming congressional session? Well,
the first thing that we're going to be doing is coordinating with the White House. This will be quite a change from when I got here 4 years ago, when we weren't coordinating with the White House because it was controlled by the other party, the Democrats. And so we Republicans this time around will have an opportunity to work with President-elect Trump and his cabinet as we try to address some of the issues that he ran on and many of us ran on. One I didn't mention was immigration. There's many people that are still extremely concerned about the millions of people that have crossed the border. So I anticipate that one of the first things we'll be doing is passing some sort of a border bill. We passed one 4 years ago, and we passed one 2 years ago, but they've never been acted upon by the Senate. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to pass something that the Senate actually will take up this time that has something to do with border security. We anticipate that President Trump is going to have executive orders that address that issue. So we'll be addressing that. Energy, we'll be addressing that right out of the box. And again, because it's one of the things that we can really help if we have less expensive energy, whether it's oil, natural gas, or other sources of energy. So there'll be that. Well, of course, security and police funding and making sure people are safe in their homes, that will be a big deal for all of us. And there's lots of other issues, but I'll just stop there.
Let's talk about that tight majority in the House. We've seen the dysfunction in the current Republican-led Congress. Are you optimistic that the next Congress is going to be more productive?
Right. So there's always a challenge when you have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 votes to spare over the amount necessary to pass a bill. Then you've got a whole bunch of people that, in fact, every congressman or woman is here because they think that they know what their constituents want, and they do their best to represent them. So you're going to have vast differences of opinion. Mm-hmm. Putting those together sometimes is a real challenge. I just want to say that in the last 2 years, we had our challenges getting stuff passed, but much of it was never going to make its way through the Senate. And so to say that we were not productive ignores the fact that we did not control the Senate and we did not control the White House. This time around, we will, much more than was the case last time. But still, I want to mention we only have 54 votes in the Senate. And so you need 60 if you're going to avoid the filibuster barrier, if you will. And so this is going to require that we work with the Democrats on certain of these issues. Otherwise, we'll see, again, not much happening.
How do you think a Republican trifecta in D.C. is going to benefit Oregonians?
Well, I already mentioned the fact that we'll be doing our very, very best to drive down energy prices, and that will help every Oregonian. We'll do our best to extend those portions of the Trump tax cut bill passed years ago in the first Trump administration. Those tax breaks that were created years ago expire at the end of next year. So at the end of 2025, everyone's going to have a tax increase unless those tax breaks are extended. And so this is, again, an extremely complicated area, and one that I've worked on as recently as yesterday. I'm not on Ways and Means, but every congressperson will be involved trying to protect Oregonians when it comes to their current tax rates. Almost every Oregonian that pays tax, and that's most of us, is going to be affected by the expiration of those Trump tax cuts. So we'll be doing our best to try to extend, where possible, that law.
Let's go back to immigration. President-elect Trump says he wants to launch a massive deportation plan when he gets into the White House. Where do you stand on his issue, his plan?
So I'm always supporting the president in his efforts to secure the border. One of them means that you have to enforce the law here in the United States, or people are going to ignore whatever border security steps you take and just get into the country somehow if they think that the law is not going to be enforced once they get here. So I will be working with the administration in trying to help focus on those who are committing crimes, because I believe that President Trump, in his appearance on Meet the Press, expressed a desire to focus on those who commit, those illegal immigrants who have committed crimes first when it comes to deportation, and then work his way through, or our way through, those others who have come here illegally. There's huge challenges in this space, and we need to proceed with care and with an understanding that we're dealing with people, and we've got to manage that situation appropriately.
How do you think President-elect Trump's plan could impact Oregon?
Well, if you're talking about his immigration plan, we have fewer folks here without the benefit of paperwork than countries down on the southern border. But we still have many, many people here that came into the country illegally. We have cartels, both Mexican and other countries down in southern Oregon that are heavily involved in the illegal trade of marijuana and creation, growing of it. And we need to address that aggressively. It's putting communities at danger still. And so I'm hopeful that between the increased effort to enforce our laws and through increased efforts to address immigration, we can reduce risks to people here in Oregon.
President-elect Trump has hinted at the possibility of pardoning people who participated in storming the Capitol on January 6, 2021. Do you think those who have been convicted should be pardoned?
So I think the way he's expressed it, and I haven't looked at what he said recently, but I believe what he's focusing on are pardons for those who were not convicted of violence. And so I think what he's focusing on are those who were there but didn't do anything to either damage property or damage other people. So I think he's saying, hey, this was more of a demonstration as opposed to something more akin to a coup, which some people have called it. So I think that's his approach, and I would support his approach primarily because he, as the president, has the power to pardon folks. Now, I must say, you can overdo it, and I think President Biden, in pardoning his son Hunter, definitely overdid it. That looked to me as like a situation of pardon overreach, if you will. But we shall see. This is going to be up to the president. He has that power.
You will be Oregon's only Republican member of Congress. How do you describe your working relationship with the rest of Oregon's congressional delegation?
I would say it's excellent, and I'm friends with all of them, some to a greater degree than others. I knew the most recent addition, Congresswoman-elect Janelle Bynum, back in the Oregon legislature. She came in close to when I was leaving, but I still know her. She and I spoke recently, and and she reached out to say that she offered to help in situations, which was very nice of her. Of course, I've known the rest of the delegation for a long time, so I get along with all of them. I have to say I don't know the doctor who replaced Earl Lumenhauer. I have not met her yet, but I look forward to meeting with her and talking through some of these tough issues.